And so, Ms. URBINA, you're going to lead us through the conversation, and if you don't mind, set the stage. Again, to the public, folks who are watching, this is for clarification purposes. I think as I've watched the chain of emails go back and forth, there clearly is a need for clarification in what the actual policy in Denver is. And so, Ms. URBINA, if you begin to lead us down that process.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you, Council, for letting us be here. We're very happy to be here to talk to you today about this. I think that, I can speak for all the city agencies and departments that we want business to be successful in Denver. So we wanted to make sure we had clarity on what the rules were around this subject matter. So we brought everybody together to have this discussion. So I will let everyone introduce themselves so you know who's at the table. First of all,
That'd be great.
Daleen.
Daleen Mix with Public Works.
Ralph Duncanson with Public Works.
Penny May, Department of Excise and Licenses.
Stu Bader, Parks and Recreation Permitting. Michael O'Flaherty, Zoning Administrator.
So we have pretty much all the different departments and agencies who touch on this subject matter.
Okay.
Today we are focused on the food truck discussion, and we know there are other aspects to this type of vending, but we were really focused on this because we had heard that from the community that there was some confusion about what the rules were. What can you do in Denver? What are the things you cannot do? So what we've done is we've been proactively bringing together and guide to basically walk through what those different aspects are. And we thought today would be a really good opportunity to get that information out so we could have a discussion and see if there are revisions to be made. We're open to that discussion. But we wanted to kind of lay the foundation of where we are.
So we start off with what is a food truck. I think that's very important to differentiate because there are different types of vending. You have push cart vending, you have peddler vending, and then you have the mobile food trucks. So for today's discussion, it's the food trucks, and then we provide that definition. We also provide information on where the food truck can be parked, where it can be located, and then after we explain the process, which really you need to start with getting a business license from Excise and License, we explain the different rules and regulations on parking in the street, parking on private property would fall under Denver Public Works. And then private property zoning permit, we have those rules laid out as well. And then on the very back, you can also do business within our parks. So we just really wanted to lay out all of the rules and regulations to sort of clarify the confusion around this topic. Great.
I'm going to go back to the draft and ask a couple basic questions. You mentioned that this is a new draft. You got today's date on it, and I know you've been working on it, right?
Yes.
Since the uproar. To whom did you listen in terms of rewriting the guide? What percent is new in the draft, and why was it changed?
Well, I think it's very important to clarify that this is the current rules and regulations.
Oh,
so
these are
nothing has been changed. Nothing has been changed.
This is the old, going back to 94, was it?
Yes.
It's a new guide of the same old rules.
Exactly. We just wanted to have
Everybody's
one place.
compiled.
Well, why does it say draft if it's old?
Because we want your input.
I think the reason it's
guide.
a draft is because
The
we
guide
want to make sure, one, that we have clarity, it's readable, the public can understand it.
The format, Molly, is
The
different
format
then,
is-
right?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
And prior to putting the guide together, all of those rules and regulations that touch the different agencies weren't in one location, in one document.
Right. Okay.
So that's
This is a good start. All right. So this is the old in a new format.
Yes.
Councilman Leacock.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I don't know, Stu or Fred, if you're up to this. I know we don't have Scott here, but I'm just trying to, I understand the issue about ambiance in a park and trying to protect parks from commercial activities. Just trying to figure out how that reconciles with Parks and Rec's policy now to try to get more admission-based events in parks. And we've got 100-foot towers and Civic Center and concerts in parks, and they're paying $300 a day. And, I mean, do we want these activities in parks or do we not? You can't come within 300 feet of a park with a cupcake truck, but you can put on a concert for 30 days in a row, put up a tower.
Well, honestly, I can't address the 300 feet because I wasn't around. I was taking a guess at why that was put into place in the first place. I could be right, I could be wrong. I really don't know. I can tell you that we as an agency, we really try and have an appropriate balance of what people want their parks for. And there's obviously a very broad, diverse range of what people want their parks for. Some of them want it to be peace and quiet. Some wanted to have to get an ice cream and get a hot dog, and some want to go to a concert. So we work very hard at trying to maintain a balance, which sometimes doesn't keep everybody happy.
Councilman Futz?
Well, I would say this is extremely confusing to me then, because it's saying food truck in a park. So based on that, I would expect to be able to find 7 food trucks, not push carts, not other things, in Skyline Park based on what you have down here. So if you're trying to do this to clarify things, good luck. I don't think you're clarifying it. I want to know what the problems that the vendors themselves saw in the food truck, so that I know where on here to look to see if it needs to be changed. Because the one thing I don't want you to do is take this draft, print it up, get a bunch of copies for something we intend to change very shortly. I mean, that's not very good either.
Well, I think the beginning of this conversation started with the right-of-way and in the downtown area. That's where this all started, and the question of whether or not someone could be somewhere and what they can or cannot do in that situation of being downtown in a right-of-way. We have had conversation only with one truck vendor with regard to their questions, because I think as part of the social media, there were questions out there about, well, what can we do in Denver in general? So that's what we attempted with this document, with the FAQs, the frequently asked questions. We attempted to answer those specific questions through that document. We may not have gotten everything, because I got one more question today. We didn't quite get clear, but I think that the other pieces of this came in was whether or not on private property, because of this new social media business model, of whether or not the rules as they are today can fit that business model, because there are new ways of doing business, and the questions came up of like timing, how many times can we come back, those kinds of things. So, and it was a big confusion on right-of-way versus private property. So the original question came from the downtown area in the right-of-way. So that's the first piece. And then the second piece, and ancillary to that, is what can you do near the downtown on private property?
Thank you very much. That really starts to focus it.
Yeah. Councilwoman Johnson?
Well, I note that there are 5 agencies or departments that a truck has to touch. Excise and license, zoning, environmental health perhaps, and fire perhaps, and parks perhaps, and the fees are not all in the same place either. I am thinking that if we are talking about a serious rewrite, we do need to hear from these folks.
Yes.
We probably should have a small task force or something and find out what they need
Right.
and how we can make it easy, because we aren't.
Yes. No, you're absolutely right.
I would like to know, first of all, how many people would like to see a liberalization of this policy, just presuming that it would be more friendly, business friendly to the mobile?
There you go.
Okay. Next question.
For the one other person in this room.
Liberals win again. Never use the L word. Lord, the L word.
This is sort of a new business phenomenon, and I think it kind of caught the city by surprise. We've been regulating piecemeal from different departments with each of these kinds of activities, and so council is the one that makes a lot of these rules. So we share your frustration and share hopefully the solution in getting more clarity, but also making more sense out of the mishmash of regulations that we have.
Is the proprietor of the cupcake truck here?
Did you bring it?
Thank you just want to thank you for bringing the issue to the forefront. Unfortunately, there are times when it takes an incident to bring out a problem or a challenge. And so I want to thank you for what you've done and for the opportunity for us to kind of figure this out. And that's exactly what happened, was an incident that brought to the forefront an issue, a contradiction and conflicts in the city. And certainly we ought to be in the business of making business easier in this city.